Good morning, everybody. So today, the topic I want to talk about today was along the lines of environments and in regards to the narcissist and environments. Okay, so a lot of times, in the beginning of the narcissist's life, how did they grow up, right? So there's the scenario that they grew up with a narcissistic parent or parents or some sort of guardianship where the parent or parents didn't want them to be their true self, right? So then they kept shaming the individual until the individual was convinced as a young child to the one that becomes the narcissist is the one that decides to wear the mask. And that's the one that, in the case of the narcissist, they would do what that hierarchy parent would tell them to do and how to act and how to be, and that would avoid them from being shamed. That would give them validation and love. Well, what they would call love. But what do we always say? Love to them is power and control. So just as the narcissist parent is giving them love, why are they giving them what they would call love? Because what they describe as love is power and control is because that parent wouldn't give them that validation or what looked like love and control until they did what they told them to do. What is that? That's power and control and manipulation. And so what they did is they put that mask on. They started to wear the mask there, meaning whatever their true self, let's say you're an 8-year-old kid and you want to go, play, with a kickball outside, and but that's what you want to do. But see, the hierarchy parent might say that for you to do that, they would shame you for it. So now you're not going to do that. You're going to do what makes the hierarchy parent happy. And so you're going to let that individual live through their child, or the caregiver live through them, is basically what the narcissist is agreeing to. And so as that individual is living through them, they're courting up, they're actually hijacking them and controlling them like a joystick, basically. And they're molding them. See, as much as the empath can be malleable and can be hijacked, the narcissist was as well. Except this is the thing, see, we're at different sides of the spectrum, so we would sometimes overgive and overcompensate in giving and loving to get validation. And maybe they what they would do is they would wear the mask to get their validation, and they would kind of follow that narcissist hierarchy, and that's from the environment is what I'm getting at. So in the environment of all of this, they start to then, the narcissist hierarchy is now living through them. You ever hear of parents living through their children, or that sort of thing? That's why I really don't like when people give their kids the name of second or junior or third or fourth or whatever, name their child after themselves, because that in itself is already manipulating situation and saying that, I'm living, it's kind of like you're putting your legacy is now bent up in your child, and now also whatever that hierarchy parent represents with that name, now all of a sudden the child gets the burden of it, whether they like it or not. So if it's a crappy person that you're named after, well, anybody in town that's going to hear that name is going to associate it with that crappy person, but you may not be like that at all. And so, I kind of got one of those type of names, but, I always said there wouldn't be a third. And it's nothing against who, my father was, as much as that they happen, to try to live through you, man. Instead of being a guardian and as a parent and kind of showing you, the best way you could raise a child to live and make it out here in the world. Instead, some of these individuals they, sorry, I had a phone call. Anyway, so they live through them, and instead of, you know, they're high, you know, they hijack them, and so that's, you know, how the narcissist can become the narcissist. But in a way, they've given themselves over, and what you're doing is I think what happens is they start to build this construct following the narcissist hierarchy. And, you know, if that hierarchy is not there, then, you know, it could be from nobody being there. Now that you're just following narcissists that you're growing up with out in the streets. But regardless, they like the power and control, because if they didn't like the power and control, I mean, all the times that I would be out there with all these, you know, you end up, when you grow up in a narcissist family, you're running on a narc vibration, whether you like it or not, even if you're the empath, because they'll pull you down all the time. So whether you like it or not, they're sucking off you all the time, even if you're good and loving and kind. But at the end of the day, you're still going to be hanging out with narcissist individuals, because that's, generally speaking, who comes around, or all you could hang out with, because that's all you can find on that plane, on that level. And so it builds a certain environment. So the whole time that you're in that childhood, in under the care of them for 18 years or whatever, you're still going to be continually, you know, under that type of abuse. And so if you're going to become a narcissist, you're going to do it. Then if you're going to become an empath, you're going to, it's innately. There's nothing that caused me to ever want to be a narcissist. I mean, only reason why an empath goes down the road of the narcissist is because they have to, because you're living with them. So you have to do certain things for survival in a family like that. An empath does have to wear a mask. And I mean, unbeknownst to them, they do have to, well, they're not unbeknownst to them. They do it on purpose. They do it because they have to, or else they're going to get even less out of life. So until they can get out of the house, sometimes they have to wear a mask. They have to lie. They have to do things like that, or else they'll never make it. I mean, life wasn't good to begin with. And so but they're not things that stick to the empath. They never liked it. They hate it, having to be like that. But the narcissists, they tend to think that it's okay. I mean, or they tend to side with it. And so it probably disgusts them too, but they're too lazy or too weak, or they enjoy it too much, the high hits, that they build the construct. And then people ask, well, can you help them? Can they be, you know, can they be healed, or can they get help? I mean, I like to leave that option open. I mean, it's not up to me, but I think that option is available to very few. Because what happens is they build the construct, and then what happens is because you build that construct later on, because that environment's there, and they liked it enough to build the construct. So we live the construct, if you're an empath, as a survival mechanism. See, this is the thing. It is out of survival that they become the narcissist to some degree, but it's not that it would have to stick. That's the thing, because we both had to do it out of survival. But they took it and stayed with it. They enjoyed it enough. They got to a place to where they worked it out in their best interests, and they could live with themselves that way. The empath can't. Can never live like that. And so sometimes when you get out of that whole thing for 18 years or whatever, then when you leave, you do operate in some of those ways, but they're shedding from you, and you have realizations. But they didn't stick, because, you know, it's when you've done stuff for a long time, now that those hierarchy parents and those influences aren't there, you can shed them. You don't just shed them overnight. You shed them over maybe several years, three years or so. sometimes even longer in cases, in small, minute details. Places where maybe you didn't realize, or, maybe over decades even. But the thing is the whole thing is unbeknownst to you. Like, as far as some of it is unconscious, because you've been doing it, and you don't, it's like some people would say that it seems when you're enmeshed in it, it's harder for you to have realizations about understanding the feelings, how you feel about all that. See, the thing is a narcissistic family, you don't get to express yourself. And that's a huge part of the problem. You can't express yourself. And when you can't express yourself, then those feelings are there and you haven't worked through them. And then you're trying to mow them over and continue on with life. And then you wonder why you're frustrated, depressed, you're anxious, you're pissed off and annoyed. The problem is when you're in these enmeshed families also, it's almost as if the family hierarchy and the whole family around you and the people you're forced to hang out with, because of the situations that the environments that you grew up in, you're not going to get real good friends. And the problem with that is because you're on the narc vibration, and anybody who comes over your house, they're going to shame you and they're going to make you look like a fool. That's what the narcissist hierarchy does. And they'll do it in snide ways, but people that grew up in high value homes are going to realize it as much as you do. And they're not going to come back. And they're not going to want to feel comfortable at your house. And then they're going to make fun of you. There's these things that kind of arise in a narcissistic home. And then the narcissist hierarchy, acts like they don't know any better. And they're always saying things like that. It's like they don't have a brain or something. And you could correct them over and over and over again, and they'll still continue with the same shit. It's like my narcissistic hierarchy person in my family, they would say something like, okay, it's called the Nissan Altima, okay, but they would call it the Altima. And I don't know how many times I have to correct them. It was like 150 freaking times, man. It's not called the Altima, it's the Altima. And I'm telling you, the next day they'll say it again. They don't learn shit. And sometimes it's just like they I don't know if, sometimes they refuse to. They know what they're doing and they refuse to. And that's why I started this channel, because the way the narcissist thinks is not what you would think. You just that's why you wonder if they have developmental delay in them. But then you realize that they're doing it because to create annoying situations to gain supply. And so then what happens is when you talk about the gang stalking situation, it's very similar to all of that. What happens is when you get gang stalked, it's almost like maybe the narcissist will run a smear campaign on you, or because you're refusing to go back to them or even deal with them or talk to them or conversate with them at all, right? So you're, completely gray rock. I am gray rock. Just call me gray rock, And so it's like you're doing that. They smear you, and they also, find biases with people that they can create a bias with them against you. And that's how they team up together. That's all they got to do. And a lot of times a flying monkey just needs a reason to agree with the narcissist. And so that's kind of how that kind of stuff works. They'll form a bias, and the other narcissists around or people around that are narcissistic, or even, people that are gullible, will be used, and then you'll have an environment built of people that are against you based on these biases that the narcissist formed off character that they made up, that you supposedly encapsulate. And really what they're doing is anytime that they blame you for some negative character, it's 99% of the time it's the character that they are, and that they're abusing you with, because they flip it, they act as they're wearing your energy, you're wearing theirs, and then they're playing the victim. But eventually all this stuff comes out, man. You can't. So that's the thing. And then what they're doing is they're basically in all of that. It's manipulation. Any kind of manipulation is witchcraft. And so when they're manipulating, they're putting witchcraft on people. But witchcraft wears off, Generally speaking, when it does wear off, it's been long enough to where, and that's the thing with the narcissist, they use time a lot. Like if you hate them because or hate what they've done to you, and you don't want to talk to them ever again, right? Then they'll give you like 6 months, and then by then you'll be over it to some degree. And then you'll let them back in, and then they'll be like, I did it again, And so, you gotta write these things down or keep a log of them, and you gotta understand or write down and journal, sometimes like what they have done to you. That way when they come back, you have got to have the answer of a no. I mean, you cannot keep doing that. And that's the thing with them. That's the thing with also the flying monkeys, These spells wear off, and the flying monkeys or whoever's around them realize that it was a lie eventually. But by then it's been so long, maybe you're not even in the same state as them anymore. I mean, in the United States, or whatever. I mean, United States, y'all. So you may be in a whole different state, a whole other side of the world by the time they figure it out. Or, whatever environment it was, friends or relatives or, acquaintances or work co-workers, whatever it is. You may not work there anymore. You may not hang out with those people anymore because you're waking or you woke, and you're refusing toxicity. So anyway, that's kind of a little bit about the narcissist environment, to where the empath will have to deal with it too, and they will wear a mask. They will manipulate or lie from time to time during the childhood, but they have to with the narcissist hierarchy just to get by. It's hell on earth living 18 years in a family like that. You cannot always tell the truth with them. Not when you're under their absolute control. I mean, you're talking about, it's kind of like a homemaker wife under the hierarchy of physically abusive, mentally and psychologically and spiritually abusive husband that gives them no money. I mean, you think that individual's not going to ever lie to their spouse? Of course they're going to lie. They're going to have to, out of survival. Do you think they want to? No, but they're a physically, verbally, spiritually, and psychologically abusive husband. And they have no money, nothing, no financial, no commodity. Anyway, so that's all. Stand tall, soldier up. Peace out. Love y'all. Have a great day. It's glorious. Peace.